Hello. I am so happy to be back doing a live video. It's been not that long. We think we did one in February when we were away for Valentine's Day, but I wanted to do one again for today. So, yeah, we're here talking about two Netflix shows. The Tinder Swindler. I've been tripping over that title, but yes, that show, as well as Inventing Anna. But really, we're talking about red flags. Red flags that were shown in those two shows and what we can learn from the lessons that I guess you can call them victims. Yes, at least for the Tinder Swindlers show, the victims lessons that we can take from where they kind of went wrong. And this commentary, this video here, is not an attempt to bash any of the real life ladies, the real life victims who fell for the tricks of Simon Leviev or Anna Delvey, but more so just lessons that we can learn listening to their stories and reflecting on what could have been done instead of what they did, or how to avoid people like those two. Because there are many more people out there besides Simon and Anna in this world who are pretending to be rich, or who even are rich but want to still scam people that we should be aware of. And so that's what I want to talk about here. So let's just talk. I don't want to be too long on this live. So let's just get right into it. First, I do want to start off talking about like a summary of both shows. If you haven't watched it, you should go ahead and watch it. I'm not going to get into specific details, so this what I'm about to say may not be spoilers per se, but just a synopsis of the Tinder Swindler, the Tinder Swindler. That was like a documentary film, if you will, featuring three women who were all European women, European white women, who met a man named Simon Leviev on Tinder. And they all had varying relationships with him. One woman was dating him for over a year, another woman, I believe, around 2 to 3 months, or just a few months, definitely less than 6 months. Another woman, she had more of a friendship with him for a few months as well. And again, they all met him on Tinder. He had a profile with very enticing photos, if you will. Like you see him in designer clothing on a boat, looking like he's on a fancy destination or at a fancy island. And one way or another, he was able to meet up with these women, have them trust him in such a way that they ended up giving him money. And this is after he pretended to be attacked. He worked in the diamond industry. I'm missing a lot of key details, but basically, he pretended to be the son of a famous Israeli diamond mogul. He was the son, also in the same business. And because of that, he was very rich. And he made it seem as if this business was really dangerous, which I heard the diamond industry is. I'm not familiar, but he made it in such a way that the women believed that he was being attacked. What's the word? Harassed. He was being followed, and people were attacking him because of some of these diamond deals. And so his safety was sometimes questioned. And at one point, his bodyguard, which ended up being his friend, was attacked. And so was he, kind of, not really. And because of that, his credit cards were stopped by the credit card companies, and he had no access to his money, and that he really needed money to be able to get home or return to safety or do whatever he said that he needed to do in order to return home safely. And so the women had a fear, gave him money, and he continued to tell them that he still had no access to his credit cards, and therefore he needed more money, and therefore these women gave him money, different occasions, of course, and at different amounts of money. One woman taking out multiple personal loans to afford to give him money, him forging a check so that she could have a higher credit limit. And I don't remember what the other two women did, but all of them lost a degree. Oh, another woman used her savings that she was saving for her own place. She used that in order to give him money as well. And usually he would use this money for first class or private plane jet rides from this country and that country, or hotel stays, or something that he claimed was his lifestyle, but was not for any real purpose. And he ended up being a scammer. Allegedly, he didn't actually go to jail for it. I guess this is a spoiler, so please, sorry, actually, not even please. Sorry if you didn't watch it and you watched up until this point, but he didn't end up going to jail for what he did, which is really unfortunate. But if you watch the show, you've gathered that he did actually scam out these women, and it's really unfortunate that it happened. And honestly, it's way too common. And then Inventing Anna was a uh, inspired by series on Netflix, and it was a dramatization of a real life story about Anna Delphi, who was a real person who really went to New York, who was Russian German, and she pretended to be the daughter of a rich German father. I can't remember if they mentioned what her father actually did, but she had a trust, and her father sometimes withheld the trust from her, so she didn't always have access to her money that apparently was for her, and so she had to do some other things in order to get that money. And so she would sometimes sleep on people's couches slash in their homes. She would stay at fancy hotels and somehow avoid paying the bills. She would use people's credit cards. It was just a lot of many things that she ended up doing. She had lovers in between there, but the story was not about a particular romantic relationship with any one of them. She also had friends who trusted her, and some who she used, and some she really became friends with. But in the end, she actually did go to jail for what she did, mainly not paying the hotels and the banks that she took money from and didn't pay back. But both of these two people, Simon Leviev and Anna Delvey, showed red flags in their relationships slash in relationship, I just mean with their relations to people, whether romantic or not, that I think are super helpful in today's age, and thinking about like how to be safe dating online, how to be very cognizant of who you are dating, talking to, entering a relationship with, let alone a marriage. Just some things that I thought was like glaring signs of like we things got to be better. And I really do hope this video helps someone who is out there on the dating scene, who is just hoping to find someone who truly loves them for them, is not using them in any way. And so let me just share some of the things that I noted. So first, I'm going to talk about like the red flags. The red flags that I saw from both shows, from both perpetrators, if you will. And then I'll talk about tips, what you can do if you encounter these signs in your dating, or just things to keep in the back of your mind when you do date. Okay, number one, and this is the Tinder Swindler. I'm probably still pronouncing it weird. But anyway, that show, Simon Leviev. All right. So again, if you watch the show, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, please do watch the show. The Tinder show is a lot is a quicker show to get through than Inventing Anna, but Inventing Anna is more entertaining. So definitely watch those if you haven't. Okay, number one, flashy photos on his dating profile. Okay. So in the beginning of the film, the Tinder Swindler film, the ladies all talk about like when they first saw Simon's picture on Tinder, and they show us his profile, and the profile was of Simon again in designer outfits, and this is obviously designer outfits, like the designer logos on the outfits, and on fancy yachts, and drinking expensive bottles of alcohol, and looking like he is just living his best life. That's like the fact. He obviously looks like he has money and that he's living a good life. Um, I identified this as the first red flag on this show, or to be mindful of, because you don't want to be enticed, or enticed is the word I'm looking for. You don't want to be enticed by photos online, period. And that's photos on Instagram, that's videos on TikTok, that's photos on Facebook. Like photos, social media in general is and can be a total lie. What people put out there is what they want to put out. Like people don't put out when they're looking bummy. They don't put up pictures or videos of themselves like that. Like sometimes YouTubers might, but at the end of the day, they know they're recording, and so they get themselves done up in a presentable way before they get on camera. Similar concept. People will put their best foot forward online. That's a whole point. And when you think about dating, people should want to put their best foot for dating, because at the end of the day, they want people to see the best version of themselves and be attracted and then choose to date them. But to see flashy photos, or photos that are obviously just overly depicting a certain image about a person, specifically that they're rich, is a red flag. Two reasons, and I'm going to talk about one of these reasons like later on, because I think this is super important. But one of the reasons is because when a person is really rich, and this is my experience also talking to people who were wealthy and even dating, going out on dates with prior to being married, people who had money, they do not want to advertise, if you will, what they have. They don't want people to necessarily know that they're swimming in wealth. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have a nice car, because real average people can afford nice cars. You save up your money good and have good credit, you can get a nice car. So I'm talking about more so flaunting their money. Rich people, you can even think about the real, like the billionaires and all those people, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, like even those people, like the rich people, those people do not flaunt their money. There's no reason to. They're rich. There's no reason to. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. They have nothing to prove. No. So when you encounter someone who is so freely showcasing this part of them, consider it a red flag. The second thing is too about rich people not doing that also. The reason why they don't, for some, and I'm not talking about the Jeff Bezos people, but the people who are like everyday people like us, but have a lot more money than us, they don't want people to only date them, only want them because they have money. Just throw that out there. And I'll just give you an example from personal experience. But when I was younger and I dated this one guy who had money, and I won't give any more specifics about what he did for a living or anything like that. But I'm a for context, I'm a full-time graduate student, and if anyone knows anything about graduate student life, graduate students are typically broke. I'm in a PC program, so I had a stipend for the first 4 years of my program, and that was like my main source of income. I did teach as well, but if you are in academia, you know, adjunct professors don't get paid that much either. So basically, I didn't have much money, but I was doing okay for myself. Anyway, the person that I was dating or went out on dates with who had money, his main concern and what he asked me initially was like, oh, like, how do you make money? Where do you get money from? He asked me a lot of questions about my sources of money because he did not want me to see him as a bank or as a golden ticket to wealth. And I knew him before realizing how much money he had. That wasn't why we went on the 1 or 2 dates that we did go on. But I just want to make the point that with real rich people, sorry, I cannot talk tonight, but with people who are really rich, they don't want people to only want them because of their money. And so that's really not what they're going to put forth. And so if you see that, question it wholeheartedly. And even you can think about like people who on social media who are posting pictures with a lot of money, like literally stacks, like stacks to the ear, stacks on the bed, designer things laid out. Like it's a red flag. It's a red flag, especially when you don't know much about them to know where they got their money from. Like you don't know them personally, but like every other picture is money. Girl, boy, don't be enticed. So that's the first red flag. The second one in the Tinder show was that Simon, when I guess they matched, I don't remember. I think the first lady, her name is Cecile. When they first matched on Tinder and they like first had their first like chat interactions, one of the first things he did was ask her if he could meet up with her the following day for lunch because he had to take a flight somewhere. It was a super last minute quick squeeze in date, if you will, if you want to call it a date, honestly. But that's how they met and she went. This is also a red flag just because if you're serious about someone or serious about dating, you would first talk to the person a little bit more to know what they're about. Like I don't know you. You don't know me. Why would I be meeting you up anywhere, let alone a couple of hours after we matched on Tinder? You say you have to go someplace. What does that even mean for me? I may not see you for months. I don't know how long you're going to be there. So why not just talk while you're away and then meet up when you get back? Like, what is the rush in meeting? What is the rush on going on the date? There is no rush, guys. There is no rush. So for the Tinder Swindler, that was a red flag. Offering a squeeze in quick date offer to you is a red flag. You don't want anyone who is going to try to squeeze you in, pencil you in real quick without getting to know you. You want someone who's going to have a dedicated conversation, make effort to get to know you, and then eventually, after however long that is, it doesn't have to be that long between that time, but whatever long that is, then they decide, okay, I'm going to have an actual date planned for us and for you. Squeeze in little coffee is not a date unless it is, but make that be something that's done with some time and some information exchange, some getting to know you done. Okay, so the third red flag that was in that show is that the girl, Cecile, went on a lavish first date. So Simon took her on a lavish first date. So after the coffee date, he ended up offering, I believe it was, for her to join him on a private plane ride, a private jet ride to another country. And she agreed. I mean, I get it. It's pretty unusual to be offered to ride in a private jet. So to think about being offered that sounds probably like an incredible first experience, something that you may never get to do in your lifetime. So I get why she would want to, but the thought about one, just meeting someone, and they offer you something that extravagant, again, when they don't know you, have no reason to really show you their whole hand, it's a red flag. Once someone has gotten to know you, once they've fallen in love, then of course, if they got a little money, please fly me to Aruba. Like, fly me out. Like, definitely. I'm here for it once feelings and time and effort have been invested. But when you just meet someone, be very wary of people doing lavish things for you when there's no connection, no knowledge, they don't know you from Adam. Be very careful. And he definitely invited her on a private jet ride. Again, she didn't know him. That's just a safety concern. So you just want to be wary of your safety being in question. You want to make sure you know the person well enough to know whether or not they're not a racist, serial killer, a scammer, which he was. But yeah, so that's another red flag. Number 4, meeting baby mama on the first date or meeting any family member on the first date. No. Just think about how awful that even sounds. Like, why would you want to? Why? Like, why would you want to? Why is that a thing? Why would that even happen? Like, maybe emergency arises and you're dating someone who has kids and they have to leave the date to go and tend to their children, and in the process you end up seeing like the mother of their child drop their kids off with them after the date or something. Like, I can see that happening. Of course, at the date you would have heard them mention that they have kids, that this emergency came up, You can still, have a little pause, be a little concerned, but like, that might be a little bit more understandable, excuse me. But to meet a baby mama, their children, any family member for that matter, or even a friend, is a red flag. The first time you meeting that person, you're meeting these people, no. And on the show that happened, Cecile went on the plane ride. On the plane ride, on the plane rather, there was Simon's baby mom and his daughter, as well as some other people, his bodyguard and the rest of his team. And when they touched down at the destination, the new country, she had a whole conversation with the baby mama about how wonderful Simon was and whatever. But that is definitely a red flag. He can go ahead and tell you about his baby mom. He can go ahead and tell you about his child after dates upon dates, after talking on the phone for days upon days, for hours and hours. That's fine. And then maybe one day when you guys are cool, you meet his child. On the first date, it's a red flag. You have to ask yourself, why is she here? What's going on? You can even assume that they're still together, which definitely happens, but that wasn't the case for this show, or this person, because it's a real person. But consider it a red flag. Number 5, a hotel stay the first night of meeting. Now, one night stands are definitely a thing. I'm not unaware of that. However, if you have gone through a day of meeting at a coffee shop, going on a private jet ride, doing a whole bunch of lavish things, and then to end the evening at a hotel for your first time meeting someone, everything's been moving way too fast. And so the red flag more so is about the pace in which the dating has progressed. You don't want to ever feel as if things are moving fast and you still don't know the person. You don't want to ever feel like you are forced to be someplace that you don't want to be. And so if you feel like, man, oh man, I'm already in a new country, I'm in a new town, because I don't know how often it is for an occurrence that you would be on a private jet ride, but let's just say you were picked up and drove to a new town, and now you're in a strange town, in a strange place, in a strange hotel with a strange man or a woman. Be careful. It's a red flag. Things are moving too fast. You don't still know the person. anything can happen. Okay. And I feel like there's a theme of safety in here because safety and red flags kind of go hand in hand. Not really, because red flags just more so refer to avoiding this person, not continuing to date them, but it could also be that they're a bad person or like dangerous or yeah. So the theme of safety might come up a lot here. Okay, so the next thing is actually around the same theme, and that is dangerous job. The partner, the person you're talking to, having a dangerous job. In this show, Simon was the son of a diamond mogul. He was in the diamond business. He was mining diamonds, and well, not personally, but like that was his business that he ran. Apparently, that is a dangerous business. You can think about many other dangerous businesses that people sometimes are into that are just not safe. One of them that's most common that people actually may encounter day to day is drug dealing. A lot of people who are sometimes regular folk, they sell drugs. That's a dangerous business, whether you want to believe that or not. And so when you're dating someone who appears to have a dangerous job, be very, very careful, be super concerned. Consider it a red flag, honestly. Even if you think that you can handle that type of danger, if you're not really from the streets, if you're not hood, if that's not your lifestyle to begin with, don't do it. You don't need to become someone you're not. You don't need to be okay with something that you're not okay with. And honestly, your safety is way more important than even theirs because they've been in this for longer. They got them, they made their decision for yourself, but you're just getting into this and need to protect yourself. So just consider a red flag if someone you're dating says that they're in a dangerous job. You don't need that type of danger. I mean, you have to ask yourself whether it's something that you can handle. Most people can't. That's the truth. You got to think about in the long run whether you're okay with that person dying, because there's some kind of rivalry that happens and goes south or getting locked up, and now you have no husband or no father for your kids. It's just a lot of things, and just see it as a red flag and avoid it from jump. The other red flag is a random attack. A random attack, and also I just have here the lack of panic about an attack. In the show, Simon eventually sends all of the women that he's separately dating a video of him saying that his bodyguard got attacked. So all of the women already met the bodyguard, I believe, and they knew about him. And so the assumption is that someone tried to attack Simon, bodyguard interceded, if you will, and got beat up. And Simon got a little bit of bruises, but he's really just fine. It's mainly the bodyguard. Okay. So here you have it. He has a dangerous job, so you wouldn't be too alarmed. It kind of makes sense that he would be attacked, but at the end of the day, just consider it a red flag, because if someone that you're dating is an attack just for their own pride, you will likely not be the first person that they want to tell that they've been attacked. Does that make sense? So like if a man is dating you, if they got attacked, they'll probably tell their mom, I don't know, their homeboy, brother, some other person that they were already cool to prior to dating you than you. Like after they're recovered, after you haven't heard from them for a while, maybe they reach out and then they tell you, you know what, so sorry, I've been in the hospital, and then you're like, what happened? And then I'm saying I've been attacked. Like that might be a little bit more believable trajectory than you being the first person they pick up to call when they've been attacked. And that's what happened on this show. Simon sent this video where he said he was attacked, and that's kind of like the big ploy that he sent to the ladies to have them believe that he was now in danger and therefore needed money. Because after he talked about this attack and sent them videos of this attack, he said that the credit card companies or whoever seized his credit cards and he had no access to his money. I don't believe that's how credit cards even work, but let's just say it was. That's what helped him trick the ladies in believing that he really had no access to his money and that he really needed money and therefore they should send him money. And that's what he asked for, and that is what happened. So just be careful of random attacks, random crises, anything that randomly pops up early on dating where the person that you're dating is asking for an unusual request. First of all, just don't trust it. Even if it's truthful, they have other people who they can ask. Prior to dating you, especially if it hasn't been that long, they had other people. Find those other people. Whoever you were going to go to prior to meeting me, go to them. Whoever those were. You had to have someone. You're in a dangerous business, so you should have someone else. Find those people. So consider it a red flag if that happens. The next one, and I'm just reading from a book if you see me reading here, but the next one here is asking for funds, period. I just have to pause because it's like, how much of a red flag could this even be? Like, how much more of a red flag, I should say. But if someone you're dating is asking you for money, it is a red flag. And again, when I'm talking about this, all of these things, I'm talking about someone who you don't yet know. There's not months or even days of communication where you've gotten to know their family, you gotten to know themselves, you speak day and night, always on the phone, you got to know their job. Like, you don't know this person very well because they haven't opened up. And then on top of that, now they're all of a sudden randomly attacked. And then when they're attacked or whatever crisis happened, then they are asking you for money. No, or big, huge favors. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's taking out a loan. Well, that's still money, but maybe it's co-signing something. Maybe it's buying something for you. And I don't know why all these have to do with money, but that's the main thing that I think of as something that's like too much of an ask that you should be alarmed and consider a red flag. Simon asked the women all for money. He made a whole situation about it, and they all sent him large amounts of money ongoing because he continued to say that his credit cards were seized and he needed money and he would pay them back. But if you're dating someone out of pride again, they will likely not want you to even know that they don't have access to the funds. They will probably not want you to know that they're broke if they actually are broke. Like, they don't actually want to be painted in a negative light, period. And so unless they're literally on rock bottom, and again, if they're on rock bottom, they have other people to turn to ask for stuff from, but also they will likely never share that with you unless you guys are cool, you're close, maybe you're in an actual relationship, and then boom, like, actually, I've been struggling with this. And at this point, you should know that their finances are not that great, because now you know their job, you see them at work, you get to know them enough to where it makes sense that like they really are struggling with this and they actually might need this to help. And still, you're not obligated to help them. Could be out of love that you want to give, and maybe you give a conditional amount and then they pay you back, whatever works for you, but never do anything that you're uncomfortable with doing just because someone asked. So yeah, definitely red flag. And then the last one from the Tinder Swindler is Swindler. Tinder Swindler is asking you to make poor financial decisions. One of the ladies, Simon, asked, well, all of the ladies really, he asked them to make poor financial decisions, but of one, he asked her to take out loans. I don't know if he outright asked her to take out loans. Well, eventually he did, but initially I don't know if that was the case. I think it was more so that he wanted a certain amount of money or that she didn't actually have, and so in order to get that, she decided to take out loans, and then because he got the money for loans and it still wasn't enough to fund his lifestyle, right? Unbeknownst to her, she had to continue to take out money to continue to fund it. That's just so problematic. You don't want anyone who is going to hurt you in any way. And it is just poor financial decision to have or advise anyone to take out a loan for minor things. So to take out a loan for someone else, it's not my problem or the loan person's problem, therefore it's minor to them. That's what I mean. But it could just be like something real trivial. Like, I don't know, you shouldn't take out a loan for a trip. So if someone tells you to take out a loan for a trip, poor financial advice, do not trust them. They don't mean well for you. Do not trust them. Then that's just an example that I'm thinking of. But you don't want anyone who's asking you to take out your savings or blow your savings on something. You don't want anyone telling you to take out loans but you don't otherwise need them. You don't want anyone to tell you to max out your credit cards for them or for yourself. Like, you want someone who is going to better you or to call you out if you're even considering to make poor financial decisions. If you don't encounter that person, consider it a red flag. Or if they say something otherwise, consider that a red flag and run. All of these, run. Yeah, just avoid. Get to know the person first if you're like skeptical, like if you consider an orange flag, if you will, like caution, or yellow flag, like take a pause, get to know them, and maybe you figure out why they did this or whatever, but definitely reconsider moving forward with these people. Okay, so now Inventing Anna now, and this show again wasn't necessarily about a romantic encounter or her scamming lovers like the other show. This was more so of her trying to get her foundation and just using people along the way and using businesses in order to get there. And we can debate on whether or not she had pure intentions. It kind of wasn't clear from the show, but when I read articles, it seems as if, and I've seen interviews of her, the real person, seems as if she didn't have good intentions. But that's a whole other thing. Red flags from her show, Anna, Inventing Anna. Number 1, lack of knowledge about a person's past. So, well, not even that. Lack of knowledge about a person's background. So that could be their real name, which she lied about, her nationality, which is small, but again, to lie about that, cause of concern. And then also family history. Definitely get to know people. And I've been saying this for so long because I think this is super important to do in dating. That's the whole point of the talking stage. People are confused about what the talking stage is about. The talking stage is the stage before officially asking to be girlfriend and boyfriend, is before being exclusive. Talking is what I like to call it, and most people like to call it. But when you talk to someone, that's when you're supposed to get to know them. That's when you can learn more about their background, especially if you're just meeting someone and you know nothing about them except for what's on their profile, which is what their name, not even real name, their first name, age, and occupation, I believe. I was only on Tinder once in my dating life, so I'm not a Tinder expert. And I didn't use Tinder. This is more so about the first show, but that's from what I can remember and what I see. That's what you get from online dating. But for Inventing Anna, Anna lied about her real last name, as did Simon. She lied about nationality, and she did not talk about her family history, which Simon technically didn't either. One critique of the first show was that Simon himself said, the real life Simon, he said that he never claimed to be the son of this billionaire diamond mogul. And I think technically, according to the show's portrayal, that was true. The women Googled him and found his name matched the one that was of the diamond mogul. Again, he changed his name in order to have that association. It wasn't true, but he didn't technically say that. But the point is that he still said he was in the diamond industry, 1, but also 2, he didn't talk about his family history. He didn't talk about his background. The ladies did not actually know him for him. They had no idea who he was. Same with Anna. The people she encountered, people she was friends with, people she did business with, did not know the real her. And when some of them did a little bit of digging, looking at her passport or literally going to Germany, they got to know more aspects of her, and she was always very defensive about it. You don't want anyone that you're dating to be defensive about anything. Like, the whole point is for them to be vulnerable with you. And of course, that happens over the course of time. But at the end of the day, if you're secretive, if you're defensive, then why are we even doing this? Why are we even talking? Why are we even dating? Like, I don't mean any harm. I just want to get to know you. So if someone is being difficult and not allowing you to get to know them, consider it a red flag. If they're not opening up about their family to even give bits and pieces, consider a red flag. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. It could be that they're going through some trauma. It could be that they're not ready and open to dating, or it could be that they're lying. Either or, but consider a red flag. You should know who you are dating. It's a process, so you would continue to get to know them, but you should see progress that they're slowly opening up. By each passing day, you're getting to know a little bit more about them. You're getting to understand them a little bit more. And that, one day you really truly know your partner ins and out. And if you feel like you have no idea who this person you're dating is, or the person you're sleeping with, person that you're on a private jet with, consider it a red flag. Okay, number 2. Inventing Anna's red flags. Second one I have here is unsure what they do to get money. On the show, Anna she said that she was the daughter of a German. I don't even know the occupation. I can't remember if she mentioned the occupation of her father, but he had a trust, and people called her the heiress, so she was supposed to inherit the trust. She had access to the trust. This is the third about the trust that she had through her father. But it wasn't clear how she was actually getting that money, because trust, I'm not entirely sure how trust work, but I think you just get it at a certain point. Maybe it's an age, or the father has to okay it. I'm really not sure, but she did not really explain how she was able to afford all those things. And people don't need to explain how they get money or use their money necessarily. But when it seems mysterious, when it seems to be like up and down, like some days he was able to buy designer things because she used other people's credit cards, but people didn't know that. But if it seems as if some days she's able to buy designer things and stay at fancy hotels, and other days she's staying at somebody's apartment for months and not paying a thing, be wary. You know what I mean? Be wary, be concerned, because it's unclear. Like, you should know that someone makes a living doing something. You don't need to know the specifics, or you don't need to understand, rather. You should know the specifics. You don't need to understand all of it, because sometimes it's complicated, but you should have an idea how people actually make money, what they actually do for a living. And usually on first dates, that's the first thing you talk about. So if someone's not opening up about it, if it's still unclear, red flag. Okay. Next one is red flag is when a person does not have a permanent address. That they don't have a permanent address. And this is the same for the Tinder Swindler show with Simon Leviev. Both of these people, Anna and Simon, did not have an actual home address. Simon flew various different countries. He had a home in Israel where his mom lived, and that was found out by the investigative journalist. But the women had no idea actually where he lived. He went to a house in Amsterdam. Who knows if that was his house? I don't think so. But because he kept flying, it did not matter. It did not matter to the ladies because it was just unclear. It's unclear. So be careful if you're dating someone who doesn't have a permanent address. Anna, for this, was the same way. When Anna was just living her life in New York, she was bouncing around different hotels. And then some episodes she was staying at people's houses. You should be alarmed. Why don't you have a place of your own? Especially if you claim to be rich. You have money to afford an apartment, I'm sure. Somebody's brownstone you can rent out or buy. Why are you living in a hotel? Why are you staying with someone? Like, it's not adding up. It's not making sense. The math isn't mathing, as the people say. So definitely consider a red flag and be wary of that when they don't have a permanent address. You should be able to know where to meet up with them at, chill at, if they have a house, you know what I mean? Like you should be able to know where to pick them up. They should have a permanent address. Okay. Next one is asking you for money when they should have it, or asking someone else for money. If someone that you're dating is, again, asking you for money, and I've mentioned this at length for Simon for the other show, it is a red flag. Period. Period, period, period. You should have money. They should have money. Anyone that you're dating should have money. People, adults should have money. So if you're spotting them, I mean, one time spot, like maybe that happens. Sometimes you people don't got it. Like sometimes the paycheck hasn't cleared, you haven't been paid yet. Like that happens. But large amounts when someone is allegedly rich is just not making sense. Be very careful of that and consider a red flag. And these are all the red flags I'm talking about, specifically when you're thinking about dating someone who is portraying themselves to be very wealthy and then showing signs or just showing that they're not. Lots of red flags that show that they're absolutely not as wealthy as they should be, or they claim to be, rather. This is the last one in terms of red flags, and this is when people you're dating are talking down, people you're dating who appear to be rich, right? Talk down to others who don't have much money. Don't do that. Don't, don't, don't fall for this one. Okay. See this as a red flag. The way people treat others is super important. People say, like, oh, pay attention to how a man treats his mom. You can even say, pay attention to how a woman treats her dad. Or one of my friends always mentions how men treat people who they find unattractive. Like, you don't want to date anyone who treats people any type of way except for kind and nice and polite. Like their personality should be that of kindness. So if you're dating a rich person or dating anyone really who are talking down to people who appear to make less than them or appear to have a different lifestyle than them, red flag. Anna did this throughout the show, mainly in front of her friends, Neffy, one of the black girl workers. She worked at the hotel that she stayed a long time at, and Anna and her became good friends. But one of the things that Anna did often in front of her was talk down to other people who worked at the hotel, who stayed at the hotel, in general, who could not afford the clothes that she wore, who did just different things. And they were meant to, she said those comments, I think, as an attempt to make her seem more rich, because I guess she thought that rich people do that. And I have no idea if that is something that rich people do. I don't think they have time to be even thinking about us, let alone calling us peasants, but maybe they do. But consider a red flag. You just don't want to date anyone who even utters those things and thinks that in any way. And then just to end off this live, I see we're almost at an hour. Thank you guys for rocking with me. But just to wrap up, some things to sort of keep in mind when thinking about like what to do instead, or what to do when you encounter these red flags. One is to is to not seek out someone who is rich. What I mean by that is, don't go out of your way to specifically find someone who is wealthy. Don't let that be your number one when you're seeking, when you're searching. Don't chase the money, if you will. If the person that you're dating happens to be wealthy, fine. If you want a certain educational status, which that with that educational status, that person ends up making a lot of money, like, cool. But don't let that be your drive. Don't let that be the only reason why you would be interested in them. Like, if the off chance that they weren't wealthy, if they lost their job, if they lost their family's wealth, you wouldn't be interested in them. Like, that's a problem. And for both shows, there were evidence of that, but more so for the Tinder Swindler show. That's what happened. The ladies all like stopped at Simon's profile and saw the lavished pictures and pictures. He was in designer and on the beach and on the yacht and drinking expensive champagne, and thought to himself, like, ooh, I like him. Do you, or do you like the fact that he looks like he's wealthy? Because I'd take the latter. So just don't seek that out. Don't let that be a driving force. There's so much more to a person than how much they earn. And you should fall in love with the person, get to know the person. And like I said before, like most rich people, I can't even say most, but the rich people that I know or have known, they don't like broadcasting it because they don't want people falling in love or falling for them or wanting them only for their money. And so they don't necessarily put it in the forefront. And that's how you should operate as well. You shouldn't let that be the driving factor in why you want to be with someone. Okay. The second, I have a second comment about this too. And that is, I don't really like Tinder as an online dating platform for this reason as well, because on Tinder, you base your dating selections on person's name, how they look, their pictures, their age perhaps, and their occupation, because that's the only thing that Tinder gives, if I'm not mistaken. And so there's not much that you can really make an honest decision off of, because there's nothing else. So I just feel like that's not a good foundation to work off of. There's other dating sites that ask for an in-depth profile where you talk about your likes, your dislikes, you know what I mean? Like, just so much more. And Tinder is not that one. Okay, so that's just an aside. Number 2 on the tips that I have to leave you guys with is to be aware of someone who works a dangerous career. I've said this before. Just avoid it. It's, unless you like to live life on the edge, I guess, if safety is not your concern, if you don't intend to have children and therefore are not worried about their safety, just don't do it. For your own peace of mind, don't do it. You don't need the stress. The women in the Tinder Swindler show were stressed. Like, they were not only worried about their safety, being that they were dating him and that he was attacked when he claimed to be attacked, but also when they started taking out loans or using up their savings, they started getting worried, like, how am I going to be able to afford these bills because you haven't paid me back? And he didn't pay them back because he had no money, or just didn't want to pay them back because he scammed other women to afford to scam these women, or to appear like he's rich to these women. So yeah, just don't date people who work dangerous jobs. Be very, very wary of those people. And then the last one that I think I have for you all is, don't be swayed to do anything out of fear or because the person that you're dating asks you to. Do not do anything that you do not want to do, period. If you don't want to take it alone, don't take it alone. If you don't want to give people your money, don't give them money. If you don't want to go on a private jet ride, don't go on a private jet ride. If you don't want to go to a lunch date, don't go on a squeeze-in lunch date. Like, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. And in dating, especially when you're just getting to know someone, it should all be what you're comfortable with, what you want to do, and what you feel comfortable doing. And so if you are in a situation where you're getting to know someone, or you're dating someone, or you're talking to someone, and they're asking you to do something that doesn't sit right in your spirit, you never have to do it. You never have to do it. You have nothing invested in them that is obligating you to fulfill that demand. You don't have a child, you don't have a marriage, you don't have even a relationship. You don't even have history in terms of a friendship to base this off of. So do not feel obligated to do anything that you don't want to do. You should just be feeling great on a date and getting to know someone. And if you feel otherwise, it's time for you to bounce. So that is all of my red flags from these 2 shows and my tips that I can think of to share with you all. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you guys enjoyed something from it. And if you haven't watched the show, I probably spoiled a lot of it, but I really didn't, because there's a lot more nuanced details in the shows that you guys can obviously learn from or just be entertained by. So definitely go ahead and watch it if you haven't. But Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this from me, my husband, or the both of us. Like this video if you like this live, and I will see you in my next one. Have a good night, everyone, or good morning, depending on when you see this. Bye.